Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Nurse Melissa and I'm a registered nurse. So today's video is going to be a very informal coffee and chat video. To be completely honest, I'm not drinking coffee. This is actually peppermint tea. And this video is featuring one of my favorite mugs. It is a mug that my parents got me when they went to Madrid. Every time that my parents travel, traveling is like a hobby for them. They love going out of the country. So anytime they go out of the country, they bring me and my husband back mugs. And so this was from their trip to Spain, I think a few months ago, and I just love this mug. You could tell it was handmade. All of the designs are hand carved and it was hand painted. So that is what I will be drinking from today. So enough about the mug. Now we're gonna get into the actual content of this video. And I tend to talk a lot, so I'm gonna go ahead and put chapters down below so you can skip over this whole portion and get right into the questions. And the questions in today's video will be questions that I had before I started nursing school. So if you have not seen my previous videos, I just became a registered nurse like a month ago, and I just finished my nursing program a couple of months ago. So I attended Chamberlain University's accelerated BSN program. It's a 3-year program. And then before that, I did prerequisites at a community college. And so that was when I was like trying to get into nursing school. I was taking classes, doing prerequisites. And before I started nursing school, just like any other nursing student out there, I had 1,000,001 questions, and I'd have to go to like, what is it, Quora.com. I'd go to Reddit, I'd Google things, I'd go on Facebook, just trying to get all the answers to my questions. And so I thought it would be cute now that I'm done with nursing school, now that I'm a registered nurse, to sit here and make a video answering all of the questions that I had before I started my nursing program. And if you see me looking at my phone, that's because I have listed all of my questions here just to make it streamlined so I don't go off on a tangent. So the first question was, are prerequisites harder than nursing classes? So like I said, before I actually entered the nursing program at Chamberlain, I would take classes at community college. So I took Anatomy and Physiology 1, I took biology, like intro to biology and a couple of different biology classes. I took chemistry. So there were a few of like the major, like the heavy sciences that I took at community college. And then I had 2 previous degrees, so I was able to transfer in with a lot of my gen eds. But I was taking chemistry and I just remember thinking like, there's no way that nursing classes can be harder than this. And so I'd go online and so many people said so many different things. Some people said that prerequisites were significantly harder than classes in nursing school. Other people were like, idiot, of course nursing classes are harder because prerequisites are to make sure that you're able to, pretty much that you're intelligent enough or that you're able to manage like concepts on a baseline, because nursing concepts are so much harder. So this is completely an opinion-based question. Now that I have finished my prerequisites and finished all of my nursing classes, my opinion is that the prerequisites were significantly harder than the actual nursing classes, like significantly harder. And I think that it just depends on like your learning style. I think it depends on what professors you have, but at least for me and the way that my brain works, I felt like it was a lot harder to grasp abstract concepts, which to me, a lot of the things in chemistry, a lot of the things in biology when it pertains to nursing school are very abstract. They're abstract and they're very granular. So like when you are in biology, you're learning about the different parts of a cell. While it's good to have that baseline information and that background knowledge so you can learn harder stuff, all I was thinking was, I don't need to know this to be a nurse. Like if I went out on the floor and asked any nurse about the different parts of a cell, most people are not going to be able to name all the different parts of the cell. So for me, it was harder. Once I got to the nursing classes and I was learning about pathophysiology and pharmacology, I could see how I would need that information once I was actually in the profession. So for me, just even on a mental level, on like a psychological level, it was easier for me to like focus in my nursing classes because I understood why I needed to know this information. So question number 2 that I have written down is, what is the hardest course in nursing school? And again, this is one where everyone's gonna have a different answer. Everyone's gonna have their own experience and different opinion. For me, hands down, the hardest course in nursing school was chemistry. And it goes back to me talking about prerequisites and how for me, prerequisites were a lot harder than the actual nursing classes. So chemistry is a nursing class, even though it's not like a nursing course, you do need it in your nursing program. So chemistry is my answer. For me, chemistry, from the time I was in high school, chemistry just goes completely over my head. I don't know what it is about chemistry. And so when I was taking chemistry, I took it at community college before I actually applied to Chamberlain. And it was so difficult that my brother-in-law, my husband's brother, had to help me out. And he's really good at the sciences. And he was such a sweetheart. He was so nice and so patient with me. But I just felt like an idiot. Like, I felt like he would sit there and explain these concepts to me. He would tutor me. And I would just be sitting there with this glassy look on my face, not paying attention. But he, he helped me, and I'm really grateful for that. And I was able to pass chemistry at community college and enter into the nursing program, and now I'm a nurse and everything worked out. But by far, chemistry, I don't know if it was the concepts, I don't know if it was the elements, I don't know what it is about chemistry, but me and chemistry have just never gotten along. Okay, so the next question is, what is the hardest nursing course? So I felt like chemistry was the hardest class in like the entire nursing program of all the classes that you need to get your degree. But once we actually got to the nursing classes, I wanted to know which class was the hardest. Again, this is another opinionated one, but in my opinion, I thought it was a tie between pharmacology, pathophysiology, and pediatrics actually. I think a lot of people will argue and say that pharmacology is the hardest course in nursing school. A lot of people will argue and say that pathophysiology is the hardest class in nursing school. You don't really hear about peds a lot. For me, it was a tie between pharmacology and peds. I personally did not find pathopharmacology. I personally didn't find pathophysiology to be hard, but I think that was 100% because of the professor that I had. Any class that you take in nursing school, I cannot stress this enough, even though your success is on you at the end of the day, the professor that you get does play a huge role in how you will be able to handle a class. So I was really blessed. I had the best professor at Chamberlain, in my opinion, for patho. And so even though they were really difficult concepts, she was so engaging in class. She made class fun. I looked forward to going to class. It was like a 4-hour class in the evening, once a week, I think. And the entire 4 hours, I was completely locked into everything that the professor was saying. She's probably one of the best professors I've had in my life. So for me, patho wasn't difficult, but I could see why it would be one of the hardest classes for most nursing students. It's a lot of information. It's very high yield. It can get really tricky. Some things you have to memorize. A lot of it is just understanding concepts. So it is a hard class. I just got really lucky. And then when it comes to peds, a lot of people don't say peds. A lot of people love peds. I had a great professor for peds as well. But for me, it was hard because the entire nursing program, we're learning about the baseline of a patient up until that point. You learn about what normal ranges are. So what is like a healthy normal range for blood pressure, oxygen saturation, pulse rate, all of the different vital signs. You learn about the baseline for that, weight, this and that, BMI. And then you get to peds and it's kind of like, okay, forget everything you learned. It's completely different for children. And so children have a completely different set of normal ranges for all of their vitals. It's kind of like you're still taking care of they're people, you're still taking care of people, but it's like a miniature person. And so all of the normal ranges and everything is just kind of out of whack. And for whatever reason, it was really hard for my brain to adjust to that. And then I also think that there was an extra layer of difficulty for me because I did an accelerated BSN program. So in a traditional university or college, classes are 16 weeks. With an accelerated program, my classes were only 8 weeks. So I had to learn 16 weeks of information condensed into 8 weeks. So for me, it was just really hard to like retrain my brain. Also, the clinical for peds for me was difficult. I loved it. It was actually one of my favorite clinicals. I was in the emergency room. I was in a pediatric emergency room. I got to spend time in a pediatric cardiac ICU. I got probably the best clinical experience that you could have had. And I loved it, loved my clinical instructor, but I just hated hurting children. Like, I know at the end of the day you're helping children. Like, if you're injecting something into a child, you're helping them, you're giving them medicine. If you have to take their vital signs, you know, you're helping them. But that's not how they see it, and they will scream bloody murder, and they will cry, and they will kick. And there was one child we had to give, and it was just a liquid oral medication, but we had to give it with a syringe in her mouth because she didn't want us touching her. And she was only like 4 or 5 years old, but she was strong, and it took 4 people to hold her down, and my clinical instructor had to inject the medication into her mouth, and she was so agitated and screaming and crying that the medication ended up coming out of her nose. And for me, the whole experience was traumatic. Like, I feel like it was traumatic for the child. It was more traumatic for me watching her and holding her down. And after that experience, that was like my 2nd or 3rd day of my peds clinical. After that experience, I was just like, yeah, this isn't for me. I'm not working with kids. I don't want to. I would be a school nurse in the future. Like, I feel like if they're a bit older, I would like that. But for me, at least in an emergent setting, I'm not the one to be working with children. And so I learned that in peds. Oh, and then the third one, pharmacology. Pharmacology to me was very difficult. I think it's a difficult class in general, but for me, again, comes down to the professor. I didn't have a professor teaching the class. It was online. We didn't have any lectures. I don't even think we had any PowerPoints. It was just kind of like, read these 5 to 10 chapters by the end of the week, and then you're going to be tested on it. And that was kind of my experience in pharmacology. It was 100% self-taught. And if there's any 2 classes in nursing school that should not be self-taught, it would be pharmacology and patho. So pharm was a really hard class for me, and I didn't really grasp medications or the concept of medications until I graduated nursing school and I was prepping for the NCLEX. So now I feel comfortable, but the class was impossibly hard. Is nursing school the hardest thing you'll ever do is the next question. The hardest thing, is nursing school hard / is nursing school the hardest thing you'll ever do? I feel like I always hear nurses and nursing students say, nursing school is the hardest thing you'll ever do. It's so difficult, it's so hard. I don't want to come across as cocky, and everyone's life experiences are different. I always have to factor that in. Nursing school was not the hardest thing that I've ever done. I don't even think nursing school was in the top 3 hardest things I've ever done in my life, or the hardest things I've ever been through. Nursing school, of course, is difficult. It's a difficult major. I think I read a report that of undergrad degrees, nursing school is one of the hardest, if not the hardest, undergraduate degree that you can go for. So of course it is difficult, but I don't think it's as hard as a lot of people say that it is. To be completely honest, I think a lot of nursing programs are made to be harder than they need to be, and whether that's just because some schools make the pass rate ridiculous, like 85 or 90%. I'm exaggerating. I don't know if anybody has a 90% pass threshold. At Chamberlain, it was 76, and I know at a lot of schools it's 80. So if you get like below a 76 or below an 80, you fail. Is what I'm getting at. If you're not familiar with that. So I think stuff like that make it harder than it needs to be. In general, nursing school wasn't hard. I think for me, what was harder was working full-time while going to nursing school and having to juggle that and manage that and stay on top of my work in school and my work at work, and then finding time to study and do well on exams. That was difficult. But if I only had nursing school to focus on, no, I don't think that nursing school is as hard as people make it out to be. Which brings me to the next question. Can I work while in nursing school? So a really big thing for me when I decided I wanted to go back for nursing school was, so first off, the answer is yes. You can work while in nursing school. Would I advise it? No. But can you do it? Yes. The entire time that I was in nursing school, I worked full time. So I worked 40 to 50 hours a week the entire time I was in nursing school, and I did an accelerated nursing program. So my nursing program was twice the speed, and my classes were twice the speed as a traditional program, and I was still able to work, and I was able to graduate with a 3.0 average, and I did just fine and I survived. So yes, you can. This was a really big thing for me. This is probably one of the main questions I get on my channel, surrounded by like people reaching out to me either in the comment section, or most of my emails are telling me about their specific situation and being like giving me like a whole summary of their specific situation, their family life, their home life, and then asking me if I think it's possible for them to work while in school. Because I did it, I always tell people, yes, it's possible, but at the same time, it's really, really difficult, and not everybody is able to do it. You have to have really good time management skills. You have to be able to handle stress well. You have to be okay with not having a social life for a bit. It's a lot to juggle, and then if you have kids, there's more added on to that, but other people have done it, so it's definitely possible. But that was a big thing for me. Finding a program that would allow me to work full-time. Like right when I applied to the nursing program at Chamberlain, I was of course working full-time, and I literally just purchased my first home with my husband, and I am a working girl. I'm always going to be a working girl. I like to work, but in addition to me liking to, like, I enjoy working and I enjoy like having my own thing to focus on, we had bills to pay. We still have bills to pay. And so for me, I was like, I need a program that will allow me to work full time. I didn't know what my schedule would be. I was very blessed that the Chamberlain campus closest to me had an evening and weekend program. If they did not have an evening and weekend program, I was determined to do a traditional daytime program, quit my job, and get like a night job, like an evening job, whether that was working as a CNA and doing only night shifts or doing weekends. Like, I was fully willing to change my life to fit around school. So that's what you have to be willing to do, but it is possible to work full time. I feel like I'm a big testimony to that. And then the next one, should I work as a CNA while in nursing school? This is another one that I get a lot. A lot of people think that you need to work as a med tech or a certified nurse's aide or a geriatric nurse's aide while you're in nursing school, because when you graduate, it's easier to get a job because you have experience. Everyone's opinion on this is different. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's cool to do. I did not work as a CNA, or I didn't work in direct patient care at all during my time in nursing school. I've never worked in direct patient care. If you have not seen my previous videos, I've been in healthcare for almost a decade now, but my background has always been in administration. I have a very extensive background in healthcare, but all of it's administration. I've never scrubbed up and worked directly with patients. And I was able to get a job right out of school in the ICU. As of me filming this video, I haven't started that job yet. I start it in a few weeks, but I was able to get the job that I wanted at the hospital that I wanted at the rate that I wanted without working as a CNA first. And I know people who have worked as CNAs and they were not able to get a job in the specialty that they wanted at the hospital that they wanted right out of school. I even know people who were CNAs at a hospital and they wanted to start off their nursing career like in that hospital on their unit, and they were not able to land a job. So to be completely honest, I think it can help in some cases, but for the most part, I don't think that it really matters. And so that is it for all of my questions. I know that I had like 1,000,001 more questions, but those were the ones that I remember I was constantly Googling and constantly looking up because I was worried about them the most. So if any of you guys had those same questions, hopefully this video helped you out. If you have any additional questions, you can comment down below and I will try to answer them to my best ability. If you have any personal questions, I always put my email address in the description box below, so you can feel free to email me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I always forget to say this, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel because it helps me out. I always heard YouTubers say that it helps them out, and now I realize that it's something about the algorithm. I don't really focus on my analytics like that, so I don't know. But but I think if you guys like and subscribe to my channel, my video just gets recommended more, which is cool. It's because more people can find my channel, so please help me out by doing that. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you in my next video.